I guess we can introduce ourselves. Jane, you want to start?
I think because there's so many people in this room right now, we should start with a poll. I genuinely am curious, though, who here is currently using partner-led growth in any way, shape, or form in your company? Awesome. And how many people are not at all and would like to? Cool. Okay, you're in the right session. And then we're going to just introduce ourselves a little bit. You can go first. Gentlemen first.
Perfect, thank you. Well, first of all, thanks to the B2B Rocks team for inviting us, and all three of you for coming here to listen to our session. My name is Alexis, I work for Chili Piper. I'm running all the product partnerships function, which is how we interact with other companies in our category, so mainly software vendors. And besides that, I also do a little bit of marketing, mainly on events marketing and partner marketing. And I live in Athens, in Greece. I don't think there's anybody else from Greece here based on the people I've met, so that makes me a little bit unique. And Jane, you want to take it on?
Yeah, hi. I'm Jane Serra. I'm the VP of Growth at Daxtra. It's a recruitment tech company based out of Musselburgh. If I'm saying that wrong, please teach me how, because I'm going there this weekend, so I don't want to embarrass myself. I've been in marketing, so the marketing side of partnerships for 17, 18 years now, so a long time. I've been at many different companies, usually services or SaaS companies. So in Rev Tech, MarTech, and recruitment tech now. And I've one common thread through all of them because the go-to-market strategy changes drastically with each brand. But a common thread is partner marketing and working with partnerships teams, because that's just an instant way to grow your reach and triple, quadruple, even 10x your reach and your growth for your ICP. So excited to talk about this today. I also created and host a podcast called Women in B2B Marketing. I'm all about getting more women on stages and mics, and they did a great job at this show, I gotta say. Good job, B2B Rocks. But yeah, check out the podcast, and I'm excited to talk with you today. So I'll ask first question, because we're gonna basically co-interview each other, if you're okay with that format. What is partnerships to you? Like, how do you define partnerships? How do you make it a successful channel?
It's such a contested term, especially lately, I would say, where a lot of sales reps are just taking over the partner manager title just because it's, I guess, easier to talk with prospects this way. I think there's another term called ecosystem that lately arises a lot as a way to explain partnerships. But when you try to Google ecosystem, you'll get a lot of information about animals, plants, and how the world is. I think the best way to define partnerships, at least in how Chili Piper views it, is when a company is working with another company, excluding the direct vendor-customer relationship. So any other kind of collaboration can be called a partnership in our case. And yeah, then we also define, like, if you had to really describe the paths or the different functions of partnerships within our company, we have a function about channel partnerships, which is what we call our relationship with resellers, agencies, marketing agencies, consultants, independent consultants out there that just work with their customers and suggest Chili Piper as a tool. And we like to build relationships with these entities, support them with resources, and offer them that programmatic support. And then we also have the other part of partnerships, which is what I'm leading, which is the product partnerships, our relationship with software vendors, integrations, more embedded co-sell partnerships, strategic partnerships, and yeah, basically that. How do you define partnerships over there at Daxtra?
It can really mean so many different things at every company. But I think what makes partner-led growth work in any company is everything you're saying, plus partner marketing and making sure the two are working together. So as you've already, when we were prepping for this, you're already doing a lot of the marketing side of things too. So in all of my past companies where I've leveraged this, it's been a top 5 pipeline driver, maybe top 3 in most of them. So it works across the board from the marketing side to the sales side, making sure that you're not just aligning on the integrations, which is key, because that just empowers things that you can unlock when you combine two technologies, even before it's an acquisition. But when you do that, that's great. But there's also, if you go a few levels up and you're just creating content together because you have the same ICP and you want to get in front of the same audience, there is content you can create. You can have, I know this word gets eye rolls, but webinars, rebranding it to live events. Live events are key. And then taking video content and splicing it up for social, for sales enablement, for podcast episodes, things like that. So making sure that you're not just talking in a go-to-market phase on mapping of the accounts, which we'll get to also, but beyond mapping of the accounts and going to market together with the sales teams and the reps, it's also the marketing teams working together on basically any piece of content you're creating. I ask my team, what partners can we loop into this content? Because then exponentially you're growing your reach and starting new relationships with these partners that you can then introduce to your partnerships team, to the sales team, to continue growing on that side too.
I mean, I can validate what you're saying, and usually in my keynotes there is a slide, and we tend to say that a lot in Chili Piper, that whatever is being touched by partnerships just performs better. Whether it's marketing, like sales cadences, outbound cadences, wherever they're being touched by this partner messaging, integration messaging, it just performs better. And there is a slide that we typically use where we say that partnerships is our magic spice, thus Chili Piper, it makes sense. But I would like to take a step back and say that I've talked with a lot of partner managers over the years, and they're saying that sometimes when they approach their marketing leaders and try to do a little bit more of partner marketing and co-marketing with these partner or affiliated companies, sometimes they find it hard to convince them because they're more, used to their more traditional ways of working, which usually don't involve partners. So I'm curious, how did it click for you? And as a marketing leader, you started working with partners and doing a little bit more co-marketing initially.
Yeah, good question, because it's interesting. Since I've always worked with partnerships at the core of all of my marketing, I haven't been having to convince myself of it. I mean, seeing is believing, right? I'm gonna re-answer this in a second, but it's interesting on the marketing side. I see that on the sales side or partnership side, it's often asked, okay, how does marketing start to work better with the partnerships team? And the partnerships team is just thinking sales, account mapping, okay, we have this prospect and this customer aligned, how do we go to market together? But what's been a struggle for me previously is getting the partnerships team to think bigger beyond that, still doing that very much so, but also bringing in marketing and thinking to introduce us to their marketing teams and working on content together. So on both sides, so convincing marketing, convincing partnerships, it's definitely seeing is believing. Like, get a test in there and see how well it performs, because it will. I've never seen a partner program go poorly, because you see, you can work with a partner that isn't ideal, and you make a note of that in your CRM, like, I don't want to work with this partner again, and you just keep track of that, but it's never going to be a negative. It's always expanding your reach and your visibility, so it's always a plus. Test it and show. Proof is the prize, the perfect. I have a stat too from what we were just talking about. So with partner-led growth, this is from a Crossbeam report from last year, I believe, that 67% of US companies are leveraging partner-led go-to-market in their strategy. Only 55% are doing so in Europe. So I was curious, since you're in Greece, what do you think is the difference here in this market? Why is it a little bit slower to adopt any partnerships?
Yeah, so even though I'm based in Greece, I work for Chili Piper, which is a largely North American company, so the majority of our customers and employees are based there. What I've seen over the years working on both sides of the ocean, of the sea, so it's mainly, I think, we're struggling a little bit over here to adopt innovative commercial strategies, mainly on that department, the more commercial things. In the US, the commercial culture is ever changing, like it changes quickly, and people are trying to always innovate and try new ways. So I think when partnerships and that ecosystem-led growth concept started appearing in our industry, they were quicker to adopt. And companies in that space, like PRM providers, account mapping software like Crossbeam, helped on building the community and educating the market about what you can do with partnerships. So I think that's a part of the reason why they adopted it quickly. And then we also had Reveal here in Europe. Now they're one company, if you're aware about the segment, they merged. But Reveal started then doing a lot of enablement around partnerships over here. And I think we had this education and enablement being led by the providers in the space, the vendors in the space. But overall, I think in general, we're seeing a bit of, there is a lag on how fast European companies are adopting these innovative commercial strategies, and partnerships happen to be one of them. Do you have any take on that? Any different opinion?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to me to hear that. I wasn't aware, so thank you, B2B Rocks. I already learned stuff, but it's interesting where I think B2B is known for being behind B2C, right? B2C is the innovative side of go-to-market on the sales and marketing. We can learn so much from how B2C markets. But I think within B2B, there's layers underneath that, right? Obviously, there's geos, but I think if you want to learn the best practices for partner-led growth, look at MarTech, RevTech, sales tech companies, because they are right after B2C. I think like Chili Piper, for example, I mean, killing it at go-to-market. They're doing everything that B2C companies do. So check out RevTech, anything in the revenue space in marketing and sales. I just think they're above everything. One other thing, how do you know when it's a successful go-to-market? Are there metrics that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we also have to take a step back, and I guess that question connects also with how do we prioritize partnerships, right? Because building a partnership always takes a lot of resources on your end, especially when we're talking about the product partnership. I know how hard it is to build an integration, get the developers to stop working on the core product, and move on building a different thing, which is an integration. And not only that, but it's not only internal development. When you're building an integration, you need to work with external devs, with probably from a different part of the world, with different development culture in a way, or pace even. So it's very hard. And by definition, I think a good integration is one of the hardest things you can build in a company. So it's very key and critical to be able to prioritize how you build these integrations. And I've been asked a lot in the past if there is a formula, how do we decide on building these integrations, what do we use? Because there is a lot of cloud that Chili Piper gets on the market for the integrations that we've built. And it's a typical question. So the way I've tried to explain that is that we don't have any formula. There is no clear formula that any company can use and prioritize on integrations, because there's such a unique concept. An integration that makes sense for Chili Piper would make zero sense for, Salesforce or HubSpot, So it depends on the size of your company, where your growth is, and also what do you do. So there's no clear formula, and that's why I believe that partnership leaders, by definition, should be working like founders in a way, have that entrepreneurial thinking and be able to know their market and understand what kind of integration would actually make sense to drive growth for the company. And for that, is there any formula that can tell you which startup you should start tomorrow and get it to be a unicorn? There's no formula. It's just entrepreneurial thinking and trying to figure out what would make sense for your business, and then convince the people internal to go after it. So if you ask me how we can see if a partnership will end up being successful, we don't. It's a risk. It's an entrepreneurial risk, and we're doing our best to make it successful. We're not sure if we'll get there. The majority of our partnerships are successful by now. The way that we define success after we've taken it to market is how impactful this partnership is on our revenue. And by revenue, I don't mean only new business, which is what Channel does a little bit. They mainly work on new business. For us, revenue and growth is also coming from cross-sell, retention. We have our head of account management, Emma, over there, who's quite happy to work with our integration partners. So it's about retention, cross-sell, pretty much everything that touches on our revenue and ARR growth over the year.
Agreed. I think it's key to focus on growth. And if you're wondering where to start, if you want to get into partnerships and partner marketing and how to prioritize, I feel like prioritize is the verb of the past 5 years, probably forever. But if you want to prioritize, look at what other tools your customers are using and make sure you're extracting that information in your CRM. And that can at least guide you towards some stats, some data. Where is there an opportunity where our customers or our prospects are already leveraging these tools, and see what is coming up? Where is there a trend? And start there. But it's like Alexis said, there's no 100% silver bullet of getting there, and there's always an asterisk at the end, right? That gives you a guiding point, but some of it is just gut and knowing who to test and where there might be opportunity. So with you.
Yeah, and I think it's also critical to compare the reactive thinking process versus the proactive thinking process. So a lot of partnership leaders out there, they're building partnerships and integrations after they get like they gather 100 customer requests.
Yeah.
For us, and I'll give an example on that. About 2 years ago, actually about 3 years ago, we built integration with G2, a marketplace. Who is aware of G2 over here? Familiar with it? Okay. So we did integration that when a lead is visiting a vendor listing on G2, they can use Chili Piper scheduling to book a meeting from G2 without even visiting the website of the vendor. Now we had, if you can guess how many customer requests we had to do that, I can tell you the answer. We had 0 customer requests. There wasn't a single customer asking for that integration because they couldn't think of that. They couldn't think of it as a possibility. So that's where the entrepreneurial thinking comes in play. And at the moment that we launched it, in the first month, we had 200 customers using it and adopting the integration, which is like the highest adopting integration that we've ever done before, with 0 customer requests. So sometimes I think successful partnership leaders, successful founders overall, they need to be proactive around thinking about and seeing where the market is going, not waiting for that reactive thinking process to get like 100 customer requests or like 200 customer requests to be able to actually prioritize and build something. That part is critical. I don't know if in marketing, like you thought in this way, both on partners, but also core marketing when you're trying to drive a new initiative. Like, do you always base it on like previous successful metrics, or sometimes you also go a little bit more innovative and crazy and like go and try something out there?
Totally a combination, because you can partner with people on the marketing side where there's so many different types of partnerships, right? We touched on a few where there's integration partners, there's OEM partners where they white label your product or you theirs. Then there's resellers, there's partner marketing partners where you just collab. So within partner marketing, there's so many opportunities to go after similar markets. You don't have to even have the exact same market. So if you were hosting together and you have a partner tool that goes after CFOs, and your market is, like for Daxtra, recruitment, heads of recruitment, VPs recruitment. So you would invite the VPs of recruitment and the CFOs. You can both go to market together, and then it's always good for you to have the CFO in the room. So there's collaboration points there that are more innovative. You're not gonna have the same tool on your radar, but you can still go to market together. So for sure, I like the entrepreneurial mindset here because it also makes me think partnerships is very similar to a very early consideration of acquisition, right? Because you're identifying, okay, what would make sense for an expansion of our product, of our platform, but we don't really want to acquire right now, so let's partner with them and test the waters. It's also an option there, so founder.
For sure, it's definitely a possibility. Yeah, on the other hand, there are a lot of marketing leaders over here, and as we're approaching the new year with like new challenges and everything that we've been through as an industry, what would you say are the main challenges your team is facing right now, and how are you preparing to deal with that in 2025?
I can answer the first. I'll try the second, but prioritizing and pipeline, which I think probably everybody feels, even founders, right? Pipeline. The past 2 years is just a struggle for most teams where everybody wants to do more with less and everybody is consolidating their tech stack. So bigger companies are rolling out poor versions of your platform and you're competing with that even though they can use it for now before they get new budget to expand out to new. So what my team is doing on that side where pipeline is a struggle is messaging and examples and again proof of why we are a must-have and not a nice-to-have. Because right now you have to be a must-have in order to get that budget. A nice-to-have is going to get cut this year. Hopefully next year it's a bit different and nice-to-haves come back. But just making sure you speak with your customers, get insight from them on what matters most to them and what is getting budget right now, and then rework your messaging to make sure you fit in that framework. And similarly, we were talking about already prioritizing. So because many of us have smaller teams now, or a lot of founders in the audience are founders doing it themselves, so how do you prioritize all of the opportunities? Selfishly, I say number one, definitely bring in partner marketing and partnerships. Even if it's one person or you're outsourcing, it's, again, an easy way to double, triple, quadruple your audience reach. But also just you have to be organized and transparent internally with your team. So if you're they should all know what you're prioritizing, so they're not wondering why you're not doing X, Y, Z, and you're focusing on A instead. Like, have those open conversations internally. How about you? Anything at top of mind for you this year?
Yeah, I think when we're looking in the trends for the next year, it's all about consolidation. So consolidate. Our team, our company just launched a full platform so we can help our customers just consolidate better. But I would say as a partnership leader, next to consolidation, we should put the word connection. So if you can't help the customer consolidate and like, if you can't cover the full spectrum of what they're doing with their revenue teams, because that's where we're selling to, at least connect with a vendor that does. It's very critical to always think about that. And a good example are OEM partnerships, like you mentioned that before. So if you can't build whatever, like an email tool as Chili Piper, at least connect with them and partner and go to market together so you can at least consolidate on the things that you can cover. But then what you can't touch, connect with a partner, pick the partner that makes more sense in your market and connect with them and go to market together. This way the customers will perceive that much better, because in the end for them, they just want to work with, that's the trend we're seeing at least, with the fewest providers possible. And it's so if I had to do 2 words, consolidate and connect. Consolidate and connect. So this is it.
You have 2 C words. I have 2 P words. If you have one takeaway from this short talk, I know we're already over. Sorry, everybody, but if you have one takeaway, it's that partnerships, thinking integrations, resellers, et cetera, and marketing have to work together. So make sure that the teams are aligned and passing different opportunities back and forth to each other, and just better together. Partnerships and partner marketing.
Awesome. Yeah, from my side, I just validate what you're saying, and just, well, all revenue teams should be working together, but especially like core departments like marketing and partners should be working together just to improve revenue performance. And I can guarantee partnerships work, partner marketing works. It just depends on like making the right choices and taking them to market. Thank you so much from my side for attending the session. And if you have any questions, we'll be out, both of us,
Yep.
to answer them.
Thank you, everyone.